things every Filipino should know about history. Number 1. Philippine history did not start with the Spanish colonization. Our colonizers tell us that the archipelago, which they later named the Philippines, had been colonized many times before. According to Colin Combs and San Agustin in a collection of early texts from 1493 to 1898, for to endeavor to determine the first settlers of these lands, whence and how they came, whether they were Carthaginians, Jews, Spaniards, Phoenicians, Greeks, Chinese, Tartars, etc., is reserved for God. The Spaniards knew that the list of peoples had once settled our lands in the distant past. They just didn't know when and in what sequence. Carthage, around 900 BC to 146 BC, was a Phoenician colony in the Mediterranean North African coast that was an important trading and military empire of its age. Spain. It may seem strange that they included Spaniards, since they themselves were Spaniards, but Spain had also become home to the important Phoenician colonies of Cadiz and Ibiza from the first millennium BC. Greece. Greek Phoenician colonies had been established in Ionia and Thrace by 800 BC to facilitate trade relations in that region and bring wealth back home. Phoenicians would have been used in this case to refer to the ancient city-states, the mother cities along the coast of Lebanon, like Tyre, Sidon, and Byblos. Israel. According to the Phoenician historian Sanchuniathon and the first-century Jewish historian Josephus, the Jews had teamed up with the Phoenicians in a maritime trading venture to the land of gold, the lands of Tarshish and Ophir, during the reign of King Solomon, which could explain the Jewish settlements that our colonizers wrote of, and even the myths of our indigenous people, that the lost tribes of Israel may be found on our islands. China. China's colonization of ancient Philippines, like the other civilizations on the list, cannot be found in any of our modern history books, but our Spanish colonizers claimed that they did conquer and settle in parts of these islands, especially the Chinese, from whose histories and their remains found in various parts, it is found that they were masters of all these archipelagos. Number 2. The Philippines has an ancient megacity hidden in plain sight. Over the past decades, rapid erosion caused by the loss of mangrove cover, coupled with the rising of the sea levels and devastating typhoons, have uncovered what appears to be massive man-made structures that had been hidden under the soil of Luzon for centuries. History professor Percival Manuel was approached by a student from Our Lady of Fatima University in Valenzuela City to explain the existence of strange structures around her home in Binwangan Island, Bulacan. Organizing an informal exploratory expedition with the Kasaysayan Hunters group to which he belonged, the team was overwhelmed by the extent and size of the structures, which time-lapse satellite images showed to have been fairly recently exposed by the violence of Manila Bay waters. They found walls that went on in straight lines as far as the eye can see. Flat, rammed earth, lupang matigas platform islands with no elevations or dips, geometrically shaped with 90-degree angles and connected to the walls. Black sand islands over a kilometer long, completely surrounded by protective walls and connected to the rammed earth islands by the walls. Rivers and creeks that were guided and controlled by the rammed earth walls with 90-degree angles and sudden drops. Walls may be observed along Kalayaan Creek and numerous unnamed creeks and waterways. Along Binwangan, Lawa, Hulo, and San Pascual, rivers with earthen walls include Batasan River, Muzon River, Tampalit River, Tuliahan River, Maykawayan River, and Santa Maria River. Check out these walled waterways in Google Maps. The Kasaysayan Hunters also discovered these same structures existing under the uneroded soil in Balagtas, Bulacan, over 10 kilometers away, making us wonder exactly how big was this ancient city. Number 3. Prehistoric Philippines was very, very, very rich. The Illustrated Boxer Codex from the late 16th century informs us of the peoples of the Philippine archipelago from pre-Hispanic times. It inspires more questions than answers. Why did the ancient indigenous Filipinos, laden with gold, appear wealthier than even the Chinese? The Ayala Museum exhibit on gold of ancestors with over 1,000 exquisite gold artifacts from pre-colonial times corroborate the contents of the Boxer Codex. When the Spaniards first discovered the Philippines, early observers reported that some large wooden houses were decorated with a facade of gold, and that there are some chiefs on this island who have on their person 10 or 12,000 ducats worth of gold and jewels. To say nothing of the land, slaves, and mines they own, there are so many of these chiefs that they are innumerable. Likewise, the individual subjects of these chiefs have a great quantity of the said jewels of gold, which they wear on their persons, bracelets, chains, and earrings of solid gold, daggers of gold, and other very rich trinkets. These are generally seen among them, and not only the chiefs and freemen have plenty of these jewels, but even slaves possess and wear golden trinkets upon their persons, openly and freely. Spanish records say that the natives had gold mines that may have been active from 1000 BC. Many of our ancestors hid the locations of the gold mines in order to keep them from the gold-hungry Spaniards. Unfortunately, they did their job so well that we are unaware where many of these mines are today. Number 4. Pre-Hispanic Philippines was an international trade hub. Not only were the ancient Filipinos rich with their own natural resources and gold, but they had an abundance of the international currency of that age, beads. When nations want to trade, they need an accepted international trade currency like the US dollar. In ancient times, beads became accepted as a form of international currency. Beads were not only ornamental, but they were a symbol of status, wealth, and ritual. Each bead became a tiny time capsule that told the story of the artist's culture and its wearer's beliefs. Thousands and thousands of the rarest and most precious beads are found in the waters in the land of the Philippine Islands, as well as treasured heirlooms worn by the indigenous tribes. Bicephalous jade traded in Vietnam, Burma, Cambodia, Thailand, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the Philippines. Z beads from Tibet, carnelian beads from the Middle East, agate beads from India, nephrite beads from China, Egyptian mosaic glass face beads, Phoenician glass beads are just some of the ancient beads our ancestors left behind, revealing that Filipinos had been savvy international traders even before we had been discovered. Number 5. Prehistoric Philippines had a name. Surely such a rich land and popular international destination would have had a name known to its visitors and its residents. There is an important piece of missing real estate known to all the lands previously mentioned. Just a name without a definite land, which would be a perfect match for our land in search of our ancient name. There is a lost land that occurs in the histories, myths, and traditions of the Phoenicians, Jews, Greeks, and Chinese. The missing piece of real estate was supposedly a part of a larger landmass that the Greeks called Aurea Chersonesus, the Golden Peninsula, in which Crete, the island of gold, would be found. China called it Chin Lin, Golden Neighbor, and a specific island within this larger area was given the name Chinchu, Gold Island. Similarly, India has tales of Suvarnabhumi, where Suvarnadvipa, the island of gold, is located. Jews and Phoenicians call this land by the most ancient name, the lands of Tarshish and Ophir. The Reverso Dictionary defines the area of Aurea Chersonesus as a peninsula of Southeast Asia extending south from the Isthmus of Kra in Thailand to Cape Tanjong Piai in Malaysia, consists of southwest Thailand and the states of Malaya, peninsular Malaysia. The Philippine Islands form the northernmost part of the Malay archipelago. An inscription in Fort Santiago, attributed to the Philippine national hero Jose Rizal, says, "To foretell the destiny of a nation, it is necessary to open the book that tells of her past." Thank you for joining us in opening the book of the past, in hopes for a brighter future. Learning history, 5 things at a time.